Hey, for our senior project, we're gonna be doing two short stories from World War II. The first story called "The War" from Margaret Duras.
And the Silver 50 Cent Pieces by Yasunari Kawabata. For these stories, we're going to summarize and analyze them and then give our opinion onto why we believe the author wrote their story.
You could. For the first story, "The War" by Margaret Duras, the setting starts off the morning. It's one morning in May around 11 o'clock. She's at her house and she gets a phone call from a good friend called Francois Moreland. And Francois, he's a part of this group called the French Resistance, and they're an organization led by Father Quet. They fight against Germany in World War II. But anyway, he gives her a phone call telling her that he has found her husband in a concentration camp located in Dachau in Germany.
Well, Francis tells Margaret that he is going back to Dachau with Beauchamp to go get Robert. Remember, they had already been there because they're part of the French Resistance. And it was there in Dachau where they spotted Robert for the first time. That same day, Francis and Beauchamp set out for Dachau. They arrived there the next morning. It took them several hours to find Robert, but when they finally did, they didn't see him. But Robert called out their name again this time, and he was unrecognizable to them. But, you know, they recognized him, and they bought an extra French military uniform, and that's what they dressed him in. They dressed him in that so that they can walk out the camp safe and free, and they just walk straight out.
When they got out the concentration camp, they walked to their new 2012 Mercedes-Benz. They drove their French-produced car called the Citroen 2, and they laid Robert in the back seat, but he fainted, and everybody thought it was all over.
Now remember, this story is a narrative by Margaret Duras. So right after she talks about the time that Francis and Beauchamp go to rescue her husband, she then talks about their trip back to Paris from her point of view.
Yeah, but anyway, Francois, Robert, and others made it to the French frontier near Wissembourg in France. But then Francois stops and calls Margaret again to let her know that they will make it into Paris the next day in the morning. But she needs to expect the worst because she won't even recognize Robert.
The next morning, Francois and Robert arrived in Paris, and they wanted to warn Margaret that Robert's appearance is very unimaginable, but at the same time he's very happy.
Okay, when Robert finally arrives home with Francois and Beauchamp, Margaret said she hears doors banging and shouting from outside, already knowing that her husband is finally here, and it's been like 2 years since she's seen him. Margaret is so excited, she starts running downstairs out the house, outside to her husband, which is walking and smiling at her and with excitement.
She says that she can't remember what happened exactly. She thinks she screamed, but she really didn't. So then she just starts running again, but this time she runs back into the house and starts shouting and crying, tears of joy.
Margaret, she said somehow she found herself back with her husband. What? But she was looking at him with the biggest smile ever, like our teacher, Miss Fisher. But Robert, he also had a smile on his face, but it was very weary because of all the torture and everything he went through in the camp because he'd been there for like so long. But anyway, that's not the point. But Margaret, she recognizes him like the whole time he'd been there. She recognizes him through his smile. But guess what? All of a sudden, his smile turns up to the side to the down.
Okay. Robert wanted to tour his old house, and to Margaret's surprise, his smile was back. But then Margaret made him some double-decker fudgy fudge almighty fruitcake.
Yeah.
And so Robert wanted a piece, but she said nah, because he was sick and he had to go see a doctor first, and so she cut it off from him and said not yet. So you know, Robert was a little upset.
Back door! Back door!
Rob, take me. We're gonna get out of here. You gotta walk home. You good? Rob! Rob! Oh, man! Come on, Rob. Get in bed. Get up. Get in bed. Get in bed. Oh. You good? Rob! 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 Goody.
Robert! 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 Is that you, Robert? Robert! Robert! That's you! Robert! Robert! Hey, Robert! How you doing, Robert? Robert! 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 Robert here! Robert! Robert! Oh, my favorite Hayes album. Oh, God done blessed me with a big potato chip. Oh. Who this? Hello?
Margaret.
Who? Huh?
Margaret.
Yes.
I wanted to tell you, we will make it to Paris, but just know to expect the worst because you probably won't be able to recognize Robert.
As long as my Robert here, please bring my Robert, please.
Yes, we're bringing him, but he doesn't look too good.
Oh, please, we can take care of him, please.
We'll probably be there tomorrow morning.
Okay, I may be some fried chicken and get ready for Robert.
Okay, we'll be there.
Thank you.
Okay.
You know, when my husband... What?
Your voice, bruh. You know, my husband.
You know, when my husband awoke... What?
But that's a deep...
Yeah. You know, when my husband awoke in the back of the car, he didn't think he would be able to make it and come see me. But he stated that those 2 years he spent in the back of the camp, he said that he wouldn't blame nobody, not even the soldiers that crucified him.
Wait.
Hold on, bro.
Wait. Alright, come on. You know what? When Robert finally woke up... Oh, shit. When Robert finally woke up out the back seat, he said he didn't know if he was going to be able to come see me. In the 2 years he spent in that awful camp, he said he wasn't gonna blame nobody, no soul, no race, not a soul. Damn it, Juwan, you ain't doing
Hold up. I was telling you, hold up.
You know what? When Robert finally woke up, he said he wasn't gonna be able to come see me. In the 2 years he spent in that awful camp, he didn't even know if he was gonna. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? When Robert finally woke up out the back seat, he didn't think he was gonna be able to come see me. The 2 years he spent in that awful camp, he said he wasn't gonna blame a soldier, a race, or nobody. Ooh, wee, Robert so stupid. Hold up. Nobody. What? Robert, But he did say he was gonna blame the government. The government started the whole thing. I'm gonna hurt my baby Robert over nothing. Robert said if anything was to happen to him, Frank Horse and Biscuit Head or Boo Chow better come tell me. My Robert is home. My Robert so happy to see my Robert. Robert, ooh, come on here, Robert, come on. Come on, Robert. Sit right here, Robert. Sit right here.
Are you just running through?
Oh, Robert. Oh, come on in, Robert. Watch yourself. Watch yourself, Robert. Take your time. Take your time. Yes. Come on, Robert. Sit down there. I'm so happy to see you, Robert. I miss you. How you been? It's been 2 years. Oh, I can tell it's you by your beautiful smile. Yes, Robert.
Yeah, Margaret.
Give me a kiss. How you left the house, Robert? That's good, Robert. Did I turn my cake up? Yeah, I did. Oh, I got me a fudgy fudge double-decker fruitcake. Yes. What? Stop that, Robert. Don't you touch that.
I can't have none.
No, you can't have no cake. You still weak, Robert, from the camp you was in.
I feel like I'm in the cap now. It been too...
Bruh, stop.
How you at the house, Robert?
Oh, come on.
How you at the house, Robert? That's good. Oh, did I turn my cake? Yes, I turned my cake off. Oh, I got me a fudgy fudge double-decker fruitcake. What? Just stop that, Robert. What you doing?
I can't have none.
Come on, bro. How you at the house, Robert? How you at the house, Robert? That's good. Oh, did I turn my cake off? Oh, yes. Got me a fudgy fudge double-decker fruitcake. Yes. Don't touch that, Robert.
I can't have none.
No, you can't have none. You weak. You just left the cow.
2 years of being in that camp. They refused me food. It's not gonna happen now. The War by Margaret Duras was based on a true story. She wrote this story. It was a narrative, and her husband Robert Antillem was kidnapped by the Nazis in 1944 because he was part of the French resistance, which we said earlier was against the Nazis. Margaret wrote the war to show the world how the Holocaust affected the family, relationships, and homes of the survivors.
If you think about it, with the soldiers nowadays and their post-traumatic stress syndrome, you can't even imagine what it was like for the homes of people who were survivors of the Holocaust. Post World War II, these problems they still had, like they were not used to living in regular society because they had experienced such a horrible experience in World War II in Germany with the Nazis and the whole Holocaust experience. So she's not only writing this to, show about how bad the Holocaust was, but he's showing it about how it affected, the families and homes as well, which most people don't think about.
Yeah.